A quiet evening in a small-town police station, the kind where the fluorescent lights buzz louder than the chatter. Officers shuffle paperwork, sipping stale coffee, when suddenly the door swings open. A woman steps in, mid-30s, unassuming, her face a mask of calm. Her hands are cuffed behind her back, escorted by a hulking cop with a smirk that screams, "He's already won." The air thickens. You could cut the tension with a knife. This wasn't just another arrest. This was the moment an entire precinct would be brought to its knees, not by force, but by a single, shocking truth. Her name was Elena Carter. To the officers, she was just another troublemaker, maybe a vagrant who'd wandered into the wrong neighborhood. They didn't know her story. They didn't care to. Earlier that night, a 911 call had come in. Reports of a suspicious woman lingering near a convenience store. No crime, no evidence, just a hunch from a nosy cashier. Officer Daniels, a man with a temper as short as his patience, didn't hesitate. He rolled up, lights flashing, and saw Elena standing there silent, her dark eyes scanning the street like she was waiting for something, or someone. "Hands up!" he barked. She didn't move, didn't speak, just stared, her expression unreadable. That's when Daniels lost it. "You think you're tough?" he shouted, yanking his taser from his belt. The crackle of electricity pierced the night air. Before she could blink, 50,000 volts surged through her body. She crumpled to the ground, her silence now broken by a single, sharp gasp. Back at the station, the officers were laughing. Laughing! They thought they'd bagged another nobody, another story to brag about over beers. Elena sat in the holding area, still handcuffed, her head bowed but her spirit unbroken. The desk sergeant, a grizzled veteran named Hargrove, leaned over the counter, sneering. "What's your deal, lady? No ID, no words, huh? You're making this harder than it needs to be." Elena didn't flinch. Her lips stayed sealed, but her eyes, they burned with something fierce, something the officers couldn't place. It wasn't fear, it was certainty. The precinct buzzed with arrogance. Daniels strutted around, reenacting the takedown for anyone who'd listen. "She went down like a sack of potatoes," he crowed, high-fiving a rookie. But then something shifted. The station's phone rang, a shrill sound that cut through the bravado. Hargrove picked it up, his face paling with every word from the other end. "Yes, sir," he stammered. "Right away, sir." He hung up, his hands trembling, and turned to Daniels. "Get her out of those cuffs. Now." The room fell silent. Daniels froze, his smirk fading. "What? Why?" he demanded. Hargrove didn't answer, just pointed to Elena, who was now standing, her gaze locked on them like a predator sizing up prey. The cuffs came off. Elena rubbed her wrists, slow and deliberate, never breaking eye contact. Then, with a movement so smooth it seemed rehearsed, she reached into her jacket pocket. The officers tensed, hands on their holsters, but what she pulled out wasn't a weapon. It was a badge, not just any badge, a gleaming, unmistakable FBI shield, the kind that makes careers crumble and egos shatter. The air left the room. Daniels's jaw dropped so fast you'd think it was hinged. Hargrove's coffee mug slipped from his hand, splashing brown sludge across the floor. "No way," a rookie whispered, his voice barely audible. Elena's voice, when she finally spoke, was low, steady, and colder than ice. "You tasered a federal agent. You might want to start explaining." The truth hit like a freight train. Elena Carter wasn't some drifter. She was Special Agent Elena Carter, deep undercover, tracking a trafficking ring that had been slipping through law enforcement's fingers for years. That convenience store? It was a front, a hub for their operations, and Elena had been staking it out for weeks, blending into the shadows, gathering intel that could bring down an empire of crime. Her silence wasn't defiance. It was discipline. She couldn't blow her cover, not even when Daniels's taser sent her sprawling. She'd endured the pain, the humiliation, all to protect the mission. And now she stood in the heart of their station, her badge a ticking time bomb. Daniels stammered, his bravado replaced by panic. I didn't know. You didn't say anything. Elena's eyes narrowed. You didn't ask, she said, her words slicing through his excuses. Hargrove, trying to salvage the situation, stepped forward. Agent Carter, this is a misunderstanding. Let's talk this out. But Elena wasn't here for apologies. She was here for accountability. You violated my rights, she said, her voice rising now, commanding the room. You assaulted a federal officer without cause, and you laughed about it. The officers exchanged glances, their confidence crumbling like dry sand. They'd crossed a line, and they knew it. Within minutes, the station was swarming with feds. Black SUVs rolled up, lights flashing as agents poured in, their faces grim. The precinct's computers were seized, body cam footage confiscated. Daniels was escorted out, his badge stripped pending investigation. Hargrove, the veteran who thought he'd seen it all, was left answering to a stone-faced FBI supervisor who didn't care for his excuses. The entire station was turned upside down, their authority reduced to rubble in the wake of Elena's badge. It wasn't just a mistake. It was a reckoning. But this isn't just a story about a badge or a bust. It's about a woman who stood tall when the world tried to knock her down. Elena Carter didn't need to shout to be heard. Her silence was her strength, her resolve a weapon sharper than any taser. She'd faced injustice head-on, not just for herself, but for every person who'd ever been judged, dismissed, or silenced by those too quick to wield power. The trafficking ring? It fell hard. Elena's intel led to dozens of arrests, saving countless lives. The news spread like wildfire. A single agent, underestimated and overlooked, had brought justice to a system that had failed her. As she walked out of that station, her head high, the officers watched in stunned silence. Some would never recover their reputations. Others would think twice before acting on a hunch. Elena didn't look back. She didn't need to. Her badge, her mission, her unbreakable spirit. They spoke louder than words ever could. And somewhere out there, in another small town, another agent is watching, waiting, ready to stand up when the moment comes. Because justice doesn't always arrive with sirens blaring. Sometimes it arrives in silence, with a badge that changes everything. So, the next time you see someone who seems out of place, someone who doesn't fit the mold, pause. Ask yourself, what's their story? Because you never know when the quiet ones, the ones who endure, are carrying a truth that can shake the world. Elena Carter did, and she reminded us all that even in the darkest moments, justice finds a way. Always.